What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So Yorick, this is the League of Legends champion I'm going to be covering today. Last week I covered Kalista, which was really interesting as well to find out a little bit more about her story and her background and her lore. Hopefully the same applies, not hopefully, I know the same is going to apply for Yorick. Now Yorick is one of my favourite actual champions from League of Legends, so I'm looking forward to actually go through this review. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go through his bio, then I'm going to go through his skins, then I'm going to go through his story. I'm also going to go through his login theme, special interactions, and I'm going to finish off with his spotlight. I'll obviously timestamp the whole thing as I always do. So without further ado, let's go. So Yorick, the Shepherd of Souls. These Isles, how they scream. So this is Yorick, Shepherd of Souls. So the bio. In fact, before I get into the bio, let me just quickly comment on his base skin. I'm really interested to find out what this is. This pendant he's got around his neck. I'm really interested to find out what this could be. Maybe in the bio or the story we might get some more indication of what this could be. And what I do know is when I did the review on Muego, he referenced that, then he talked about that. I think he maybe thought that that might be his wife, which I don't think it is. But yeah, that's the most interesting thing, at least for me, in that image. Plus he looks so cool there with his ghouls around him. Anyways, let's move on to the bio. The last survivor of a long-forgotten religious order. Yorick is both blessed and cursed with the power of the dead. This is interesting already. So, this last survivor of the long-forgotten religious order. So, is he one of the priests that didn't die? Trapped on the Shadow Isles, his only companions are the rotting corpses and shrieking spirits that he gathers to him. Yorick's monstrous actions belie his noble purpose to free his home from the curse of the ruined nation. Now we find out a little bit about this in his interactions. When I play the game, there's some interactions he has between himself and Maiden and a few other things as well that kind of tie in with that. Even as a child, Yorick's life was never normal. Raised in a fishing village at the very edge of the Blessed Isles, he always struggled to find acceptance. While most children his age were playing hide and seek, young Yorick was making friends of a different kind. The spirits of the recently deceased. At first, Yorick was terrified of his ability to see and hear the dead. Whenever someone in the village passed away, Yorick would lie awake all night waiting for the chilling cry of a new visitor. Poor kid. He could not understand why they chose to haunt him and why his parents believed the spirits to be nothing more than nightmares. In time, he came to realise the souls were not there to harm him, they were simply lost and needed help finding their way to the beyond. Since only Yorick was able to see these spirits, he took it upon himself to be their guide, escorting them to whatever awaited eternity. Okay, the task was bittersweet. Yorick found that he enjoyed the company of ghosts, but each one he brought to rest meant saying farewell to another friend. To the dead he was a saviour, but to the living he was a pariah. The villagers only saw a disturbed little boy who spoke to people who weren't there. As you would. Tales of Yorick's visions soon spread beyond his village and drew the attention of a small order of monks who dwelled at the heart of the Blessed Isles, which we kind of saw in the review of the Shadow Isles video. Its envoys travelled to Yorick's island, believing he could be an asset to their faith. Okay, Yorick agreed to journey to the monastery, and there he learned the ways of the Brethren of the Dusk, and the true significance of their trappings. Every monk carried a spade as a symbol of their duty to conduct proper burial rites, which ensured souls would not lose their way. And each brother wore a vital of water drawn from the Blessed Isles' scarce spring. These tears of life represented the monk's duty to heal the living. So is that what it is? So basically it's untainted, pure water from the Blessed Isles, and possibly the only untainted pure water still in existence from the Blessed Isles. Right. Yet no matter how he tried, Yorick could never gain the acceptance of the other monks. To them he was tangible proof of things that should only be known through faith. They resented his power to easily perceive what they themselves had struggled their entire lives to understand. Shunned by his brothers, Yorick found himself alone again. One morning, as he tended to the duties in the cemetery, Yorick was interrupted by the sight of a pitch-black cloud rolling across the surface of the Blessed Isles, devouring everything in its path. Yorick tried to run, but the cloud quickly enveloped him and plunged him into shadow. All around Yorick, living things began to writhe and contort, corrupted by the foul magic of the black mist. People, animals, even plants began to transform into vile, ghoulish mockeries of their former selves. Whispers emanated from the turbulent air around him, and his brothers began ripping the vitals of healing water from their necks, as if the objects were causing them great anguish. A moment later, Yorick watched in abject horror as the monks' souls were ripped from their bodies, leaving cold, pale corpses behind. Among the quieting screams of his brethren, Yorick could hear voices within the mist. Okay, remove it. Join us. We will become one. He felt his fingers grasping for the vital at his neck. Mustering all his resolve, Yorick forced his hands away from his throat and commanded the howling souls to stop. The black mist writhed violently and darkness overtook him. When Yorick awoke, the winds had calmed and the once fertile lands had transformed into the grotesque hellscape of the Shadow Isles. Isolated tendrils of the black mist clung to him, trying to overtake that one living thing not yet corrupted. Right, so this is the thing that's uncorruptible, or at least like it says that hasn't been corrupted yet. Right, so that's why it shines so bright, because it's the black mist, while before it was the Blessed Isles which were bright. Okay, it makes a bit of sense. As the mist wrapped itself around him, Yorick saw it suddenly recoil from the vital at his neck. Yorick clutched the blessed water, realising it was all that kept him alive. In the days that followed, Yorick scoured the islands for survivors, but found only the twisted remains of what once lived there. Everywhere he walked, he witnessed wretched spirits raising from the bodies of the dead. As he searched, Yorick slowly pieced together the events that led to the cataclysm. A king had arrived, seeking to resurrect his queen, but instead had doomed the Isles and everything on them. Yorick wished to find the ruined king and undo the curse he had unleashed, but he felt powerless in the face of the seemingly endless death that surrounded him. Okay, almost lost within his grief, Yorick began to speak to the spirits around him, attempting to find solace with them as he had as a child. Instead, as he communicated with the mist, corpses left their grave, guided by his voice. He realised the bodies he had once laid to rest were now his to command. Right, a glimmering of hope shone from the heart of his despair. Of his despair. To free the dead of the Shadow Isles, Yorick would wield their power and their strength. In order to end the curse, he would be forced to use it. What a great bio. And this is what interests me so much about Yorick. It's just so unique. Everybody's been taken over by the Shadow Isles, even someone who is honourable like Callista. But then technically she was dead, that's why she was obviously taken over. But still, I like how he was able to resist it. My question is now answered about why he was able to resist it and what is in the pendant around his neck. And also, because he was in essence, the Undertaker, the person that buried these people, the ones that he buried are now his to control. Love it. He realised the bodies he once laid to rest were now his to command. And this is the most important thing. In order to end the curse, he would be forced to use it. Yeah. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to his skins. Let's go. So, Shepherd of Souls, Yorick. Roll fighter, difficulty moderate. Let's jump over the abilities for now. So, we have quite a few skins here. How many? 5. We've got 5 skins. I'd like more, but I ain't going to complain. So, actually, before I move on to that, the first one I want to say is about his base skin, which I find interesting, is if you compare Yorick to the rest of the Shadow Isles champions, he looks the most human-like, doesn't he? For example, you look at Hecarim, you look at Thresh, they've got skeleton faces, haven't they? No skin. He has his skin, he has a human-like face, he's got his beard, and this ties in nicely with the bio because it looks like, obviously, the Shadow Isles, should I say, the Black Mist wasn't able to corrupt him, it wasn't able to kill him, and you can see that there, that he kind of, relatively speaking, looks unaffected. So I like how it shows that, and that ties in nicely with, obviously, what we know now about this Blessed Isles water pendant around his neck. So yeah, and the skin looks good as well. I like the skin, I like the shovel he's got there and his minions. So first one is Undertaker. Wow, okay, I like that. Undertaker Yorick. We've got the full moon in the background. I like how he's got this tombstone strapped to his back as well, and clearly this guy doesn't look like he needs burying just yet. This guy still looks like he's alive, or was alive. I like the mask as well with the red eyes. Epic. Yeah. Pentacle. So this is the Pentacle Mort Reminder. On a side note, Pentacle Mort Reminder is a great track. And also, my favourite skin for Kale was the Pentacle skin as well. The Pentacle skins are really, really good, and this is another one there. I do like the Pentacle Yorick. So Arclight, whoa, Arclight Yorick, looking holy like thee. Kind of the opposite vibe to Shadow Isles. This is almost like a Demacian look to it as well, and kind of like the righteous look. I like the face in the shovel as well. This is gonna be ridiculous, isn't it? Meowrick. What? So yeah, and this is this is Rengar in the background with a onesie, and we've got Yorick with a pink onesie. Yes, Yorick rocking the pink onesie. That's good. That is so good. And then we have Resistance. Nice. Looking at some of Matrix, the Resistance Yorick. Okay, I like that one as well. I like, yeah, the mechanical aspect of that as well. That's cool. That's cool. So off the top of the dome, if I had to pick my favourite one, ooh, this is tricky. So out of the 5, all 5 of them are top notch. They're all very good. If I had to pick my favourite one though, it would be Undertaker. Yeah, this is my favourite one. It just amps up the original. He basically is an Undertaker, isn't he? And this is kind of, for me, amps up the original. Like I said before, I like how he's got the tombstone on his strap to his back, and it just, yeah, it just amps it up. It looks really good. I like, once again, I like the mask. I like his look and what he's wearing. Yeah, that's good. That's my number 1. Number 2 would be Pentacle. Yeah, that Pentacle look. I love that as well. That would be number 2. Number 3 is a tricky one, but I'm going to have to say Resistance. Yeah, that would be my number 3. Taking nothing away from Arclight. Arclight looks epic, and Meowrick is pretty funny as well, but Resistance is number 3, number 2 is Pentacle, and number 1 is The Undertaker. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to his login theme. Let's go. Oh. How epic is that? How epic is that? Wait. Hear that? Hey. So, pick it up. Hold it up. Wait! Let's drop! Let's drop those! Okay. Now that's how you do a login theme. That's how you do it. Yeah. And that is the end of that. Now that is how you do a login theme. Few reasons. First one, it perfectly fits his character. I mentioned a few weeks ago when we did one on Hecarim, it didn't suit his character at all. Now I know it was old, and since then League have developed more unique login themes, but this one perfectly suits his character. And secondly, layers. The amount of layers, it's the layering, the different tempos and sounds that make a good login theme. And we went through Khaleesi's last week. One of the things I said was it was a bit fast paced and there wasn't enough of a build up. This is a perfect example of how you do a build up. It goes from the low to the highs, back down to the original lows. It's perfect. And at the beginning as well, there's this kind of strange, check this. It's like a rasp at the underneath. There's the choir noise, but then it's like a monstrous rasp underneath as well. That there, that's so good. You'll hear it again. Yeah, that is so good, and the choir behind it as well. Yeah, really good. That is how you do a login theme. Drops in the middle and then back down to the calm, kind of grim, dying aspect right at the end as well. Yeah, so one of the best actually. That's probably one of the best I've heard so far from the Shadow Isles, along with Thresh's. Thresh's original was really good, and obviously Viego's is good as well. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to move on to his story. Let's go. So, last rites. Help me, begged the shipwrecked man. Yorick couldn't say how long the survivor had been laying there, bones broken, bleeding into what remained of a wrecked sailing vessel. He had been moaning loudly, but his cries were drowned out by the multitude of wailing souls that haunted the isles. A maelstrom of spirits gathered around him, drawn to his flickering life force like a beacon, hungry to reap a fresh soul. The man's eyes widened in horror. He was right to be scared. Yorick had seen what happened to lost spirits taken by the black mist, and this was one flesh, a rarity in the Shadow Isles. It had been how long? 100 years? Wow, since Yorick had seen a living being. Oh, I didn't know that. He could feel the mist on his back quivering, eager to wrap this stranger in its cold embrace. But the sight of the man stirred something in Yorick he had long forgotten, and whatever it was would not allow him to surrender this life. The burly monk heaved the damaged man onto his shoulders and carried him back up the hill to his old monastery. Yorick stood at the face of the injured man as he groaned in agonized protest with each step the monk took. Why did you come here? Live one. After completing the climb, Yorick carried his guest through several corridors in the abbey, before coming to a stop in the old infirmary. I'm sure there's going to be no one there waiting to help though. He eased the shipwrecked man onto the massive stone table and began to check his vitals. Most of the man's ribs were shattered and one of his lungs had collapsed. Why do you waste your time? Asked a chorus of voices, speaking in unison from the mist on Yorick's back. Yorick remained silent. He left the table and made his way to a heavy door in the rear of the infirmary. The door rested as he pushed, his hand doing little but leaving a print in a thick layer of dust. He pressed his shoulder against the wood and heaved his entire weight into it. So much effort for naught, sneered the mist. Let us have him. I love this kind of like back and forth between him and the mist. It's like, you know, you got like the angel on one side and the demon on the other side, the good and the bad. I wonder if the maiden's going to appear in this one as well. Again, Yorick answered it with contemptuous silence as he finally forced the door open. The heavy oak dragged across the stone tiles of the monastery floor, revealing a chamber full of scrolls, herbs, and I don't know what that is. For a moment, Yorick stared at the artifacts of his former life, struggling to remember how to use them. He picked up a few that looked familiar, bandages yellow and brittle with age, since it's been 100 years, and some ointments that had long turned to crust, and returned to the man atop the stone table. Just leave him, said the mist. He was ours the moment he came ashore. Quiet, snapped Yorick. The man on the table was now gasping for breath. Knowing he had little time to save him, Yorick tried to bind his wounds, but the rotten bandages fell apart as quickly as he could apply them. As his breath grew more ragged, the man convulsed. He grabbed the monk's arm in a agonized desperation. Yorick knew that there was only one thing that could save the man's life. He uncorked the crystal vital at his neck and considered the life-giving water it contained. There was precious little left. Yorick wasn't sure if it was enough to save the man, and even if it did, Yorick was forced to face the truth. In trying to save the man, he was just chasing the memory of his former life, when this cursed place was called the Blessed Isles. I'm thinking as well, if he uses what he's got little left of this water, then won't that mean that then he won't be protected by the black mists? The souls of the mist had taunted him, but they taunted him with the truth. This man was doomed, and if Yorick used the tears of life, he would be too. Exactly. He closed the vital and let it rest against his neck. Stepping back from the table, Yorick watched the man's chest rise and fall one last time. The black mist filled the room, spirits clawing out from it in anticipation. The mist shivered eagerly, then ripped the dead man's soul from his body. It uttered a faint, feeble cry before it was devoured by its new host. Grim. Yorick stood motionless in the room and uttered a barely remembered prayer. He looked at the soulless husk on the table, a bitter reminder of the task he had yet to complete. While the curse of the ruination remained, anyone who came to these isles would suffer the same fate. He had to bring peace to those cursed islands, but after years of searching, all he had found were whispers about a ruined king. He needed answers, so he still not found him. With a single motion of Yorick's hand, a thin strand of mist poured into the man's body. A moment later it rose from the table, barely sentient, but it could see, it could hear, and it could walk. "Help me," said Yorick. The body shambled out the door of the infirmary, its slowing footsteps echoing through the halls of the monastery. It continued out into the foul air of the cemetery, walking through the rows of emptied graves. Yorick watched as the corpse trudged towards the centre of the aisles until it disappeared into the mist. Perhaps this one will return with the answer. Okay, interesting. That was a good, story and a further development, obviously, of Yorick's character. What I like about this as well is clearly he has this mission, doesn't he? He's trying to search for the ruined king. What else did it say there? Yorick stood motionless. Let me find it. There we go. He had to bring peace to the Cursed Isles, but after years of searching, all he had found were whispers of the ruined king. So I like how he's got this mission. He's motivated to undo what has been done. But at the moment, clearly, he's not having any luck. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on to his special interactions. Let's go.
Would you like some friends? Nope, can't have them.
Everyone's always just ripping on
your corpses against mine. May the best win.
Here we go.
Those you ride down will soon rise against you.
Yep.
You and I share a common goal. The similarities end there.
Ooh.
Enjoy this limbo while you can, for I will soon end it. I know you, and I see you always. One day you will take me. May it be soon.
Oh, I like that.
No, Lucian. I haven't seen your wife. You remind me that the world is sometimes good and very naive.
Which is what Lux is.
I fight to free you as well, though a hatchet would suffice. My army will soon storm your gates, Revenant. I pity what you've become. Shall I end your suffering? Yours is a fool's errand. The world must be allowed to die. You think you want immortality? I'll gladly give you mine.
Yeah, 'cause that's the point. So I'll gladly give you mine. So does that mean he can't die? Yeah, okay, because the rest... Yeah, okay.
Those souls are not yours to keep.
Preach. Yep.
I have nothing but time. Show me something else. Yours is an easy grave to dig, small one.
Exactly. It's not very big, is it?
They say I was once your age, though I can't quite recall.
If you run, you won't see me stab you.
I suppose I have eternity to think about that one.
Terrible joke, innit?
Ah, yes. I remember what laughter sounds like.
Come on, live a little while you can.
I've endured more pain than any words can bring.
Come on, live a little while you can.
I no longer feel insults.
Come on, live a little while you can.
I'm just happy to have company.
Take anything you can get.
Come on, live a little while
going
you
for it.
can.
Ah, yes. I remember spewing idle words. Another voice in the cacophony of wails.
Wow.
Flesh torn asunder, flesh reborn.
His voice is cool as well, isn't it? He's got a good voice.
We all end the same.
Look at the wrong you do.
It is necessary.
See, this is what I like about Yorick as well. I like the interaction he has between himself and the Black Mist and also the Maiden as well. Yeah, such an interesting dynamic.
Your remains will serve a purpose. One more nail in the coffin of the Isles. I can't bury them all. My army grows. All these bodies going to waste. My graveyard is full. It pulses with life, as the Isles once did.
No anymore.
Red as the heart that barely beats in me.
Wait.
A vital ornament. I wouldn't be caught dead in that. Mere rags,
It's true, isn't it?
soon to fade.
Cloth armour.
A sack to cover flesh and bone. The armor of someone soon to die. As cold as the hand of death. Cold, even to my touch. To slow the fleet of foot. A gauntlet to throw before the king. They'll find me hard to bury. Gives life when death is near. A ghastly armament. A gift from kind specters. Sometimes the dead can give life. Stay with me, spirit. The only warmth I've found.
Sunfire cape.
To cremate my foes.
With a sunfire cape.
The fire of life burns within.
The sword of a great man.
The sword of a fool.
So what's interesting here is, I wonder if this interaction was present before Viego was released. And if it was, which I think it probably was, it shows how far ahead League are thinking in terms of their character development. Blade of the Ring King, the sword of a great man, the sword of a fool. So there's obviously some kind of lore behind that, which we obviously know about now. But it's interesting how they set it out, I presume, years ahead of time.
The king will return for it.
Then I will strike him down.
Here we go. One other quick thing as well. I hope Yorick plays a important role in the future lore, because obviously there's a lot of lore now around the Ruined King and his wife and Gwen and all the rest of that. I really hope Yorick gets his time to shine in that whole development over the next however long it's going to be, the next year or so. Yeah.
The blade of the father.
A tyrant who will pay for his crimes.
Yeah, I really hope that Yorick does make him pay.
This blade has performed great feats.
And I will use it to undo them. It fits me to perfection.
Dead man's play.
Taken from one who can no longer use it. The dead need no armor, but I do.
True.
Too valuable to bury. To delay the end. To life. I still draw breath. All things decay. Mortar crumbles. Everything that stands must fall. Forward we press. It falls like all things. Makes its own tomb. Your kind is supposed to live long. I am sorry. I need your essence, great beast. That is a lot of flesh to raise.
Do you know what would be really good with Yorick? If based off who you kill determines when they are brought back from the grave, how they are. So the bigger the beast that it kills, the more strong it is, if that makes sense, when it comes back. I think they're all default out there. They're all just default to minions. But it'd be good if, a weaker minion means it's a weaker minion when he brings it back from the grave. But something larger, if it then brings back from the grave, the stronger it is. Like he says there, that is a lot of flesh to raise.
Even your kind will join the mist.
Yeah.
Yours will be the largest coffin.
Do you see what I mean? He recognises obviously the size of it, and it's going to be a large coffin. Yeah, but that'll just be a nice touch. Make maybe general minions weaker, but maybe something like a cannon minion will be a stronger, kind of like a mini maiden. And if you were to kill something like Baron, you could then bring that back as well, as like a super maiden. I'm just throwing it out there.
One more step toward domination.
One more step toward the end.
We are stronger. We shall take all. Do you feel it? I am more. We feed. We grow.
Yeah, that was epic. That was really good. I love special interactions in general, and on characters as interesting as Yorick, these are really good to listen to, and especially the ones between him, Callista, him, Thresh, and also Hecarim as well. And also nice to see how it alludes to the Ruined King without directly speaking to the Ruined King as well. So yeah, overall, really enjoyed going through his interactions. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish off with his spotlight. Let's go.
Welcome to the League of Legends Champion Spotlight, featuring Yorick, the Shepherd of Lost Souls.
Let's go. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. What is that? So, I didn't notice that before. On his back, he's kind of got, it's like a face or a mask with tears on it. Interesting. Never saw that before.
By Shadow Isle standards, Yorick's a pretty good guy. The former monk just wants to free the souls who have spent a millennium trapped in the black mists of the Isles, and he's willing to do some bad things to carry out his holy mission.
Fair play.
Yorick carries the burden of 1,000 condemned souls swirling infinitely in the ghoulish cape on his back. The shepherd uses these lost spirits to fight anyone who gets in his way. They may not like it, but Yorick doesn't give a damn. He'll do whatever it takes to win, even if it means he's got to bring a little bit of hell along with him.
Yep.
Our souls
Fight
are
fire
a
with
small
fire.
price to pay to cleanse this land.
Preach. So, abilities.
Yorick's passive is Shepherd of Souls. Whenever an enemy minion or neutral monster dies near Yorick, they'll occasionally leave behind a grave. Enemy champs that die near Yorick always leave one. Graves last until Yorick moves away. Now, what do graves do, you ask? Well, heads up, it's about to get spooky. Yorick's Q gives him access to 2 separate abilities, Last Rites and Awakening. Last Rites empowers the Shepherd's next basic attack, causing it to deal bonus damage and restore a little health. If Yorick is below half health, the healing effect is double. If Last Rites kills any target, a grave is created. If there are at least 3 graves nearby and Last Rites is on cooldown, Yorick can cast Awakening to raise Mistwalkers from the nearby graves.
Mistwalkers.
Mistwalkers basically act like nasty little minions,
Mistwalkers.
although you can only have up to 4 of them at once in your undead entourage, and they die if they roam too far from Yorick. Also, none of the graves can have a cigar. If Yorick wants to win early trades in lane, he's gotta wait until he's planted a proper cemetery before going in. Here, Aurelia screws up by hanging too close to Yorick's graves. When the Mistwalkers rise, Yorick follows them in to deal additional damage and recover some lost health, earning an easy advantage. Yorick's W is Dark Procession. The Shepherd yanks a bundle of corpses straight from the earth, forming a wall of rotting flesh that encircles a target area. The wall decomposes on its own after a few seconds, but can also be destroyed by enemy basic attacks, whether they're trapped or not. Yorick and his allies can freely pass through the Dark Procession. When you need to lock down a key target or get away from the living, a big ring of coagulated corpses is just the thing you need. Here, Yorick aims Dark Procession right on top of himself to create a cage that only he can escape from.
Yeah.
Unlike
Smart.
Kled, Yorick doesn't need a rope to make a bear trap.
Yeah.
Yorick's E is Morning Mist.
This for me personally, playing Yorick, I've not played him too much, but playing him as a novice, this is the hardest ability to land. But once you land it with your minions up, it's pretty effective.
When cast, Yorick hurls a glob of mist that damages and slows enemies. Yorick gets a movement speed bonus when moving toward enemies marked by the mist, but the ability's true power is that it's the one way you can direct the actions of the otherwise dumb Mistwalkers. Your walkers gain movement speed and leap toward mist-soaked targets, harassing them until their bloody end. When you need to stick to a target, a little dab of mist can help clog up your lane opponent's wheels. The Blood Mage almost made it out of this trade, but the mist helped the Shepherd take Vlad's health bar down to the red, where it belongs. Yorick's ultimate is Eulogy of the Isles. Yorick summons the Maiden of the Mist, and at higher ranks she'll bring some Mistwalkers with her. The Maiden moves and attacks on her own, pushing down the lane and immediately raising any enemies that die near her as Mistwalkers. The Maiden disappears whenever Yorick dies, but unlike Mistwalkers, she doesn't have to stay near him to stay alive. When Yorick attacks the Maiden's target, he'll deal bonus magic damage based on the enemy's maximum health. If the Shepherd gets into a fight within earshot of the Maiden, though, she will be smart enough to follow and lend him a helping hand. The bonus damage granted by the Maiden makes her scary strong in one-on-one duels. Here, Yorick doesn't need to wait for more graves before starting the fight. Instead, he busts out his pretty little lady friend and goes straight for the kill. The spectral duo stood united, giving Shen no time to do the same.
He did. Gameplay.
When Yorick goes in for a trade, it's best if he brings a swarm with him. Here, Yorick waits until he has a maximum 4 graves up, then unleashes a Dark Procession and awakens his ghoul army the moment Gangplank steps up for some minions. With the Saltwater Scourge trapped in the fight, Yorick sicks his undead buddies on him using a well-aimed spray of Morning Mist. When laning, Yorick has very specific windows of opportunity to make strong trades, and misusing that opportunity can leave him very vulnerable. The mean old monk is in position for a strong play here, but he missed his E, causing his walkers to ignore the Grand Duelist. Fiora wisely takes this opportunity to pick off the missed walkers, leaving Yorick's schedule wide open for a fencing lesson.
Back up. No.
You know what they say, good fencing makes good neighbors. Yorick is better than just about anyone when you need to press an advantage after a team fight. Here, Yorick saves his ultimate until after his team's cleared out the bad guys, then summons the Maiden so her army can tank the first 4 turret shots. Thanks to the Maiden's passive, the defending wave of enemy minions winds up transforming into Yorick's minion wave. With a whole new wave of tower-taking ghouls at their side, the Shepherd's team blows through the inhibitor. In teamfights, Yorick is too slow to be a diver, so he's better off hanging back to peel for his carries. Here, Yorick wisely retreats to deal with the cold-hearted ladies who have flanked in behind him. He turns to help out his backline, quickly delivering Fiora her last rites. As soon as Dark Procession comes off cooldown, Yorick uses it to lock down the overfed Ashe, who quickly eats a face full of boomerang blades. Should've ducked.
Sivir. Okay.
Yorick doesn't actually have to stay in a lane in order to split push it. Here, Yorick sees folks moving toward Baron, so he drops Big Mama Maiden in bot lane and sends her on her merry way.
Big Mama Maiden.
She refreshes her army of Mistwalking amigos every time the squad slays an enemy minion, so soon she has a nasty pile of friends heading straight for the bot lane inhibitor. But meanwhile, Yorick is present and ready for a pool party in the topside river. This forces the other team to either give up Baron entirely or hope they can win the team fight before the Maiden takes everything in the bot lane. In the end, Yorick's team wins on both fronts, and the Shepherd gets to return to his flock and win the game.
Nice. Smart.
Thanks for tuning in to the Yorick Champion Spotlight.
So, that was really good, and that perfectly wraps up this review of Yorick. Now, like I mentioned before, I've played Yorick a few times, so interesting to compare what I know, which is not a lot, on Yorick versus the Spotlight and what they recommend in terms of his abilities and his gameplay as well. So really good to watch that. But yeah, hopefully you guys actually enjoyed my thoughts and reactions to Yorick. This includes the bio, his skins, also his amazing login theme, his story, his special interactions, and this Spotlight. And if you did, feel free to let me know. Feel free to like, comment, and maybe also subscribe if you haven't done so already. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one.